episode of the Scoreboard. We are entering week 7 of the 2024 NFL season. A lot of things have happened last week, a lot of things we need to talk about, and a lot of controversy surrounding the MVP discussion, which we will get into as well. But Smokey, how are you doing?
I am good. I'm better than Jaguars fans right now because I thought that little bit of momentum coming from the week before was going to carry them over going into the England game, and it absolutely did not. They got stomped out by a rookie quarterback, and it looks really bad. I think Doug Peterson probably not going to make it to the end of the season at this rate because we know that Shad Khan is not afraid of firing general managers in the middle of the season, as we saw with Urban Meyer just a few years back. And Doug Peterson is on that hot seat right now, and he could very well be gone before the end of this season. It's looking really dim in Jacksonville and across the pond because they love playing over there. They'll be back there again this week for a Germany game. But it's going to go bad, obviously. How are you, Alex?
I'm better than Cleveland Browns fans, and that's because they just generally suck, and there's not a lot of light ahead on the horizon. This team, the original Browns became the Baltimore Ravens, and since that happened, the best quarterback of the Browns franchise was Baker Mayfield in over a quarter century, and they let him go, and now he's better somewhere else. And they've had probably 20 starting quarterbacks, and they're all just uniformly terrible. I don't know. There's something in the water. I'm not going right for Cleveland, and this is another one of those seasons where we're back to the good old Browns the way we know them in the bottom 5. And they have a semi-tank bowl divisional game coming up in which they're not exactly favored this week either. So not looking great. So I'm better than Browns. But the Jaguars are a good pick. I have to give you that one because they're also in a major tank bowl, which we'll get to here in a second. But for a prediction game, I forgot to catch you up on this, or you forgot to catch me up on it last week. What is our standing in the prediction game? I know I was ahead a few weeks ago. Did I keep that lead?
Oh, absolutely. And that was why I didn't bring it up last week. I noticed that you forgot, and I was like, yep, not going to bring that up. Last week, though, we disagreed on one game. Overall, it was a really good week for both of us. We got a ton of picks correct, but we only disagreed on the Jaguars and Bears, which is why I picked the Jaguars this week, because they absolutely let me down, and it's probably going to keep happening. Like I said, the Bears blew them out. You got that one. So overall for the week, I got 12 correct, and you got 13 correct, bringing our total to 56 for me, 63 for you. And is it the middle of the season yet? Because it's my turn to start catching up at some point.
Not yet. No. I got another 3 weeks or something. Yeah, 2 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Not just yet.
Every single season.
Nowhere near.
Yep.
Yeah, but 7 games is a good lead. I know I'll squander it because I always do it, but that's a good one. I'll take it. That gives me more room to work with later on.
Yeah.
That is good to hear. Let's talk about the MVP thing real quick before we get into the picks here. So I want to announce again the poll where you can cast your weekly vote for current MVP favorite is up on the channel community page. If you navigate to the community page of Beyond Football, you'll be able to vote on who your current MVP is if the season ended today. And obligatory disclaimer, I can only pick 4 options to let you vote from. Okay, that's why names like Joe Burrow and Sam Darnold and Baker Mayfield are not on the list this week because there's too many people. There's 8 or 9 still very realistic candidates to pick from. I can only list 4 of them. So if you have an opinion that's not one of the ones that is listed, let us know in the comments and tell us why. And people can vote on those comments. You can upvote the comments if it turns out someone has a better suggestion than those 4. Maybe that's something I can take into consideration for next week. But that's where you can vote. I'm very curious how it goes. First time we had a vote after week 4. We had Brock Purdy leading big time. Then it's kind of shifted to Josh Allen and to Jaden Daniels last week, the rookie currently leading the vote from last week at least. I wonder if that changes this week because he did play, as you mentioned, Smokey, he did play Lamar, who's another one in that category, and he lost.
Yeah, I think that head-to-head kind of sways people's opinion a little bit, seeing those two go at it and Lamar Jackson coming out the victor. A lot of that has to do with the team around them because we forget that Washington hasn't been a great team offensively over the past few seasons. They added one piece and became what seemed to be an offensive juggernaut, but they're still young. They're still putting it together. They have a lot of work to do, but there's no doubt about it that Jaden Daniels is one of the best quarterbacks in the league. I still believe that. But do you want me to give my list here?
Yeah, sure. Let's hear it.
All right. Well, I still have Lamar Jackson at number one. Like I said, he kind of separated himself a little bit with that head-to-head win, and of course that's going to sway opinions. Lamar Jackson is slightly ahead, but the rest of the field is right on his tail. There's probably 8, 9 people you could put on this list, but I have Jaden Daniels at number 2 right now. I have Baker Mayfield at number 3. I still have Sam Darnold at number 4. He didn't do anything to hurt his chances. He didn't do anything to better them. He was on bye, so that's just how it is. He's coming in at number 4 this week. I still have Brock Purdy at number 5 because he rebounded and put up a really good game against the Seahawks and looked phenomenal. But right outside of this list, looking in, is a ton of names. Joe Burrow, Jared Goff, CJ Stroud, Jordan Love, and Kirk Cousins. I think all these guys could make a run for it at some point.
Okay, Kirk might be a bit of a stretch right now, but I see why you're saying that. He's been having a good set of games. Look, this week I'm actually gonna pretty much abstain from picking because it feels like it's getting more and more difficult every week. There's so many angles of which I can argue for this. If you want to talk about just the individual and best quarterback as an MVP and the best individual stats, Joe Burrow is number 1. He's been the best quarterback in the league. Now, he's just losing games, but statistically speaking, leads the league in passer rating, 6-to-1 TD INT ratio. That's amazing. That's phenomenal. Tops the league in passing yards, completion percentage, very high in those categories. He's statistically speaking the best player, the best quarterback in the league, but the team record just doesn't reflect it adequately to where you'd say, okay, we can really confidently put him up in there. Sam Darnold, like you said, has done nothing wrong, but also he's kind of in the between spots 3 and 7 in most of those statistical categories. So nothing that would say, okay, this guy sticks out to be the MVP, but also very, very strong in elite season. And then if you forced me, gun to my head, to pick someone, I'm going Josh Allen for the simple fact that he is yet to throw an interception this year, which is amazing. He's very good at avoiding sacks, still top 5 in passer rating, 10 touchdowns, not a single pick thus far, which is, very, very impressive. And the Bills have looked good. They've gotten it done, although be it very in a very shaky fashion against the Jets, who, aside from the quarterback position, are not exactly a match for Buffalo just yet in terms of the roster, and they're coming off of a coaching change. But the Bills defeated the 2-game bump curse or gift, or however you want to call it. That's one of the few times that's ever happened, and we both fell for it too.
Yep. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. You know what, though? I think it was almost in the cards for the Jets to actually win that game, but the refs played a huge part in that game and handing the game over to the Bills in the end. I know both teams took a lot of penalties in that, so you could say, well, they were calling penalties on the Bills too. That game was almost unwatchable in the end because there were so many penalties. I think the league needs to do something about the illegal formation penalties and whatnot. I get it. You want them to line up uniformly, but come on, we're overdoing these penalties at this point in time. I do think maybe the Bills, or maybe it's the NFL, has a little bit of a grudge against Aaron Rodgers these days. We all know the things that he has said and done and put the league out there in many cases. He's never held his tongue back from talking about the NFL, that's for sure. So maybe there's something to that, maybe not. We'll see. But Josh Allen, I think he's still the best player on his team, but I think he needs to kick it up just a hair. I get it that he doesn't have many weapons out there, and they have been trying to bring in a wide receiver for him. But until that happens, I don't have Josh Allen up there, but I could see him sneaking into the top 5 in no time if a few games go his way again.
Yeah, for sure. There's a lot of defensible picks. I think there's you can give me 5 to 7 to 8 names this week and be completely justified in arguing for them. So we'll see how this develops. over the weeks. Let's hop into the predictions for this week, and we start off Thursday night with Smokey's personal meteorite game, the Broncos and the Saints.
Oh yeah, this is a meteorite game for sure. I didn't even think of it that way until you mentioned. But the Saints, Spencer Rattler, I was really curious to see how he was going to play. He actually was not bad. It seems like every rookie that's thrown into a game this season has been quite well. I mean, they've played quite well. So Spencer Rattler just followed the trend and came in and played decently, considering they were playing a team that was much overpowered than the Saints. The Bucks just have an offensive unit right now that's hard to catch, but he played really well. The Broncos took another loss. That defense is still good, but they're not quite as good without Patrick Surtain. He went out very early in this game, and it showed because that defense was not as good. They weren't able to stop the pass like they usually do. Willie, I don't think he's coming back for this week, so that does sway my opinion somewhat, and it's in New Orleans. So I'm going to say that the Broncos take another loss, and that defense will get back together when Patrick Surtain is back. Right now, I'll be taking the Saints at home.
Yeah, this is a tough one for me to pick now because Broncos have been looking better in recent times than the Saints have been, and what happened to the Saints defense last week is nearly inexcusable. I don't know what that was, but this team has just completely metamorphosed into a shell of what they were in the first 2 weeks, where we legitimately saw them as like a top contender, right? We thought 2 weeks in, they were like number one in the power rankings because they looked unstoppable. They were solid defensively, just completely flip-flop. But with the Broncos, I don't really know what to think of them. I understand that for Bo Nix, like in the rookie season, they're in a rebuilding phase, which is kind of excusable for why they're kind of mediocre and a lot of up and down. So it's hard to know what to expect. So we have two teams here that are kind of going through turbulences. I tend to also default to the home team, so I will agree with you or take the Saints at home, but not because I'm particularly convinced about them for the season. You mentioned something before we started the show, which we forgot to look at, that we kind of skipped over. You wanted to tell me about the betting odds for the MVP as a little comedic bit on the side.
Yeah, I think it is comedic at this point in time because guess who is number one still? Patrick Mahomes. And somehow...
Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, imagine that. Somehow, his odds have risen since last week. He actually has better odds to win this week than he had last week, which makes no sense to me. He didn't even play, and all of these other quarterbacks are showing out and getting better each week. Somehow Patrick Mahomes' odds risen there. That almost sounds conspiratorial in a way. They have Josh Allen coming in at number 2, who still has really good odds. Makes much more sense than Patrick Mahomes to me right now. And then followed by a lot of the guys that we mentioned: Lamar Jackson, C.J. Stroud, Jaden Daniels, Brock Purdy, Sam Darnold, Joe Burrow, and the rest of the gang, all the guys that we mentioned. Jalen Hurts does sneak in there above Kirk Cousins, which is really hard for me to believe at this point in time. And Baker Mayfield is way down with Dak Prescott and Kyler Murray. That makes no sense either. Yeah. But the main thing is Patrick Mahomes is still at number 1, and his odds are better than they were last week. What do you think of that?
So the Mahomes thing, like I just don't understand. Like, statistically speaking, he is in the bottom third of starting quarterbacks in the league. The team is winning, but the team is not winning because of the offense. And I will get to that when we come to this week's game. This offensive unit is mediocre all the way through. This is not the same Chiefs that they were 5 years ago, where they're winning with offensive firepower, backing it up with an okay, solid defense. This has flipped. Okay, this is an outstanding, top-notch defense, and they have an okay offense. Like, they can win scrappy games, and more often than not they do, because of the experience they have as a head coach, as a quarterback, with the offensive line. But that team is built on defense. It's built on special teams. Now, I have no idea why Patrick Mahomes is number 1 in the betting odds. It seems like a complete money sink if anyone wants to bet on that. But I'm interested in Baker Mayfield. If you're telling me like he's way down there, statistically speaking, man, he should be in the top 3 right now, by all means. I mean, he leads the league in touchdowns, second in passer rating to only Joe Burrow. Baker Mayfield's been playing really good. He should be in the top 3 for MVP odds. Like, if you look at stats, the Bucks are still good, and they come off an impressive win. Don't really understand it. I have no idea who makes these, and why they don't update them a little better. But it feels to me like the public, even the odds makers, care way too much or hold on for way too long to the big names. That's just historically a trend when it comes to these sorts of things.
Yeah, no, I'm sure people putting money on it has a lot to do with it also. That should be how it works, I believe. But I'm not a big gambling man. But Baker Mayfield's right now is about plus 3,000 on average. Wow. So, man, it'd be good to get some money in there if you feel like...
That is some good money. See, I would... If Mahomes had those odds, I might consider putting some on Mahomes as like a value bet because we know he can put together like a 7-game streak and just be the most dominant player in the league. Mm-hmm. So there's at least an outside chance of that happening. But for him to lead right now, no.
Guess who's
I don't understand that.
Sneaks in right around with... He does have 5,000, plus 5,000 odds right now, but he is not far behind Baker Mayfield, and that would be Caleb Williams after putting together 2 decent games.
Who, by the way, statistically has been better than Patrick Mahomes this year.
Yeah, exactly.
Just to name that, right?
All of these guys are, I believe.
Yeah, Andy Dalton. I mean, it's just what it is, right? But we will see. We'll get to those when we'll get to. I assume at some point sooner or later those odds will have to get adjusted because it doesn't reflect reality at all right now. But let's talk about the Tank Bowl, the big Tank Bowl so far this year. Another European game here. Yeah. Not the Jets, the Patriots and the Jaguars. By the way, shout out to NFL.com. After years, finally, when there is a European game, it doesn't say Jets at Jaguars anymore. They have the Jets versus Jaguars. Telltale sign that this is an international game. Finally, big quality of life improvement there on the schedule page for NFL.com. So I much appreciate that. This way I know it's a European game. In Germany this time, huh? Mm-hmm. Jaguars hosting, technically, the Patriots.
Yeah, I hadn't noticed that slight little change, but that does make much more sense than saying at the Jaguars. Although, when they're playing in England, Jaguars are probably the closest thing to a home team out of any of these teams for sure. Man, this is a tough game. And not only is it a Tank Bowl, but the fact that if I would have told you before the season started that in week 7, we're going to look at this game and say Drake May just started one game, and we're going to be trying to figure out, is he better than Trevor Lawrence? I don't know. He might be at this point. Maybe it's the team around Trevor Lawrence. I still want to believe he has elite potential in him. Actually, I take that back. I know he has elite potential in him. He has been great his entire career until Urban Meyer derailed that whole thing, and we know how that went. But I think Trevor Lawrence could put it together. He's with the quarterback whisperer, right? Wasn't Doug Peterson supposed to be like one of the best quarterback developers ever? But I just don't understand.
That's what they said, yeah.
I mean, there's some kind of turmoil in this team. They're snake bit for some reason. I don't know, man. Jaguars may end up like the Browns eventually. We might look 20 years in the past or in the future and then look back and say, yeah, that team is just a pit of despair, much like the Browns. But I don't know. It makes this really tough. There is no home field advantage, technically. I do love these games like this over in Europe where you look out in the crowd and there is no uniform color anywhere. It's just everybody has on separate jerseys. It's pretty cool to see. It's just checkered and polka dotted everywhere. But man, I don't know. Do I want to believe that Drake May can actually pull off his win in his second game starting, or do I believe that the Jaguars could put something together? They had a really good game 2 weeks ago. But is that momentum just absolutely dead after that? Did that just suck the life of them, losing to Caleb Williams and the Bears? Man, I don't know. I feel like a fool, but I'm going to do it because I know the Patriots are bad, and I'm afraid that they may be getting a spark right now. But I'm going to go with the Jaguars one more time. I might just be throwing another pick away, but I'm going to go with them and see what happens.
It feels like picking either of those teams feels like throwing the game away, right? When that pick completely in the garbage. So there's really no wrong way to go about it. I'll take Jacksonville. Also, for me, the tiebreaker is this. The Jacksonville Jaguars just already played a game in Europe. I think they'll be a lot more adjusted and comfortable with the time zone. Now, the weather is going to favor the Patriots. Considering like Germany around this time of year, it feels a whole lot more like New England than it does to Florida. I can say that from experience. But Jacksonville with the time zone advantage, I think, is going to help them a lot. Now, Drake May looked very interesting in his debut, I have to say. I mean, he was throwing the ball to everybody, but that's fine. A lot of rookie quarterbacks do that. Those are generally promising starts, and then at some point in the career, not to project too far in the future, at some point there comes this split where, like, okay, can this player do that, keep doing that, but stop throwing it to the other team 2 times a game? And if yes, that player becomes Josh Allen. And if not, that player becomes Jameis Winston, right? Because then you get these like mad gunners that just like, throw 40 picks and 40 touchdowns every year, and make for a great show. We'll see if the Patriots can develop him. But I'm going to believe in the Jaguars. Trevor Lawrence has not been as bad, statistically speaking, as the team has been, and as he's being credited to be. He's still one of the bright spots on the team, though I also agree that he is not fully doing his part, heralded as the generational number 1 pick to carry the team. He's not being put in an easy situation either, but I will take Jacksonville to get it done here in Germany. The Seahawks and the Falcons, the Bird Bowl.
Yeah, I know. A couple seasons ago, everyone wanted to believe that this 6-year quarterback breakout thing will hold for some player eventually, 5th or 6th year, depending on the player here. But Geno Smith is not the player of 2 seasons ago. That was kind of a lucky fluke season for Geno Smith, and he hasn't been the same ever since. And he proved that last week. 2 interceptions is going to get you another loss in this game right here. He is below the Andy Dalton line of old, which I don't even know if I want to call it the Kirk Cousins line, because he's actually playing really well right now. So we may have to go with someone else at this point in time. But
it's the Patrick Mahomes line this year.
Maybe at this point it's the Patrick Mahomes line. Oh, that's hilarious right there. But Kirk Cousins is above the Patrick Mahomes line, but Geno is
statistically speaking, it's the Jordan Love line. He's number 16 right now, ranked by passer rating.
Oh man. That's kind of shocking, to tell you the truth. I would have thought for sure he had at least made 10 or so. But this game right here, one of these quarterbacks is playing much better than the other. There are a lot of bright spots on the Seahawks offense. You got a lot of good players out there. Kenneth Walker is one, DK Metcalf, the whole group. JSN, man, I love a lot of those players there, but I don't want to jinx it again, but I have been picking the Falcons, and they've been winning, so I will stick with my Falcons at home, because they've played really well at home. And I want to say this really quick, too. Over the past 3 weeks, they have won in 3 different fashions. 3 weeks ago, they won with the defense. 2 weeks ago, they won by passing. This past week, they won by running the ball. So this is a multifaceted team. It's not a one-trick pony. I think the Falcons could really put together a run this season. If they keep this up, I'll be taking the Falcons at home.
They did, yeah. Bijan Robinson breakout game. I'm sure you're glad to see that. Mm-hmm. And Kyle Pitts catching some passes as well. Maybe those names are finally starting to get a groove together for the first time in the offense. Yeah, give me Atlanta, right? Keep the Seahawks on their losing streak. They went from 3-0 to 3-3. They're heading in the right direction, is all I can say. So Seattle needs to keep losing here at Atlanta. Perfect opportunity against the Falcons, which is a team on the rise. Falcons get it done. Titans and the Bills.
Yeah, like I said, the Bills had a really rough game last week. That game was almost unwatchable. They did get a little help from the refs to win that game and kill the streak of the 2-game bump that had been going for a while. The 2-game bump is still a real thing. It's just that, 8-10% of the players are going to break the streak. 90% of the teams still do it, so we can't just say that streak is over. Man, the Titans are so bad. They are so bad. They may be, I could put them up there with the Jaguars and the Browns. This team is absolutely horrible. I don't think Will Levis survives as a starter by the end of the season. The guy has all of the athletic talent in the world. He has potential. His mental is just not there, and I don't think he's ever going to put it together at this point. Maybe it's one of those things. Maybe it's a Sam Darnold situation. He'll go sit behind somebody for a couple seasons, get another chance, and by that, he's matured and developed. But this is not it right now. It's not going to work out for the Titans. I'm going to say the Bills, even though their offense is shattered, they can push right past the Titans here, especially at home. I'll take the Bills.
Yeah, Levis might not get it done in the situation that he's in. He's not the kind of quarterback who takes a below average team and lifts them up, right? That's not where he is in this point of his career. He's the type of quarterback who needs to be on an established team and with the time to develop. And he similar to like Brock Purdy, he can become something great. But that's not what he was drafted into, and the Titans have not done a great job building around him thus far. He's not in an enviable situation at all. He's making the best of it. But yeah, at this point, I'm also seeing his future somewhere else sooner rather than later. Buffalo should have an easy win here at home. The Bengals and the Browns.
Yeah, the Bengals did not win in the same fashion that they had been. This was, what was it? Was this the first game of the season? They did not put up over 30 points. The offense was not bad by any means, though. They put up 17 points, and yeah, I don't think they're on a downward trend at all, especially against the Browns. The Browns are so bad, and Deshaun Watson is almost guaranteed to be the starter for the next 2 seasons. If something don't change, the Browns are going to absolutely regret that. This should be an easy win for the Bengals. I'll take them on the road.
Yes, agreed. Give me Cincinnati. They finally broke the ice a little bit here, got their win. Be it against the Giants, be it again in the most unwatchable game so far this year. And there's some games this week which can top that record, by the way. This is potentially even one of them. But no, Bengals get it done. I think they can put together what their offense has been doing for the most part this year, compared and like partnered with the Browns' complete incompetence. Cincinnati gets another win as they sorely need it. Texans at Packers.
Man, both of these teams are coming off of really big wins. Both of these teams seem to be about even to me with their second-year quarterbacks starting here. Even though Jordan Love is a little bit older, he is definitely a second-year quarterback. But he looks good. Yeah, if he's coming in at 16, that is shocking to me because he looks better than that on the field. Now, I'm not saying, he should be number one or anything, but I think he looks really good in my opinion. But so does C.J. Stroud. The Texans looking like an absolutely legit team. 41 points on the Patriots, which is a vaunted defense as we've seen historically, but it was a really great win going up to New England. They stay on the road here, and since I consider these two teams a pretty much even their wide receiving cores are almost dead even in my opinion. Like you have almost the same pieces on both sides of the field right here. I'm just going to give it to the home team. I'll say that the Packers get this one by 3 points.
Yeah, this one's tough. This one might be my hardest game to pick for this week, simply because, like you said, both of those teams are so even. I'm just gonna give it to C.J. Stroud here, right? We've seen about the same of both quarterbacks historically last year and this year. I think Stroud has just been a tick more consistent. And I like what Houston's doing defensively, though the Packers defense has been very good this year as well. You gotta give them their credit, especially in terms of taking the ball away. I'm going Houston. I think I have a little bit more faith here in DeMeco Ryans, CJ Stroud to get it done. They're coming up with a really good pass rush, put Jordan Love in some trouble, who's not the most mobile quarterback just yet, still a little bit. It doesn't seem like he's 100% in terms of his movability. So I will take the Houston Texans. Maybe a slightly bold pick. I realize they are not favored. They're not playing at home, but I have some faith in them. Dolphins and the Colts. Tank Bowl.
Yeah, it kind of is, right? I feel like one of these teams could make a comeback, though. When Tua returns to the scene, I feel like this team should pick up, and I wouldn't be surprised if they put together 4 or 5 wins in a row. But as for right now, doesn't seem to be which quarterback you throw out there, they're not going to get a win. And the Colts, that's another situation at quarterback. Are we going to stick with Flacco, or is AR coming back this week? Like, this is a weird decision in my opinion. If AR is ready to play, you kind of have to throw him out there because that's your pick. But then again, you think you probably have a better shot at winning if you throw Flacco out there, but Flacco's never going to win you the big games. So you're stuck in that situation. It's kind of a paradox there. But I guess for this situation, we know we're not going to see Tua. They're on the road. I will pick the Colts to take this one at home.
Yeah, tough one again, but I think the thing is with Tua, I think he'll probably come back too late to salvage the season this year. And the Dolphins going into the future have to seriously think about the situation because Tua just is the kind of player that is extremely injury prone if you move forward with him, which you can totally do because he's great when he's fully healthy and the offense is working well. If you're that kind of team with that kind of quarterback, you have to have a better backup plan. which they haven't had in a few years now. If you know your quarterback is prone to being out, to missing games every year, you just gotta invest in a backup quarterback. It's too valuable at that point to completely neglect that. Sure, if you're, like Tom Brady's playing his 15th year without missing a single game, it doesn't matter as much who's backing him up, right? But if you have this kind of quarterback, this big oversight, something the team has to address going forward, just as a security, because you kind of, at this point, you have to expect it. Tua will not play 20 games in a row. He's not going to. That's not what his body's cut out for. He's going to miss some time here and then. So something to think about for the Dolphins going forward. He's not playing in this one. We've seen what they're like without him. They are coming off of a bye week, but Colts just won a scrappy divisional game. They are playing at home, so I will take Indy. Lions and the Vikings.
Oh man, this may be the game of the week right here. A division rivalry, and this is looking like one of the century at this point in time. The Lions are absolutely rolling offensively, and they are not bad defensively at all. They let the Cowboys score 9 points and put up 47. That was an absolute thrashing in Dallas. I called that they were going to win that one fairly easily, but I didn't think it was going to be that bad. They destroyed the Cowboys, humbled them so bad. Vikings are coming off of a bye, so you would think that they got something going here. They're coming off of 5 wins, so they do have the momentum on their side, but so do the Lions. That makes this really tough, man. It's like the quarterbacks who people had forgotten about are back on top at this point in time. We're going to see Jared Goff versus Sam Darnold. This will be a great matchup. If I haven't already said that, yes I have, but I'm going to say it again. This will be a great matchup. I don't know who to take. You know what? I'm going to stick with my original opinion here that the Lions are going to the Super Bowl this season, and I say the Vikings get their first loss of the season at home. I'll take the Lions on the road.
Yes, give me the Lions as well, man. This is the game of the week. I'm surprised it's not a later slot. They threw it in there at the 1 a.m. with the 1 p.m. games. Undefeated Vikings, high flying Lions. I'm gonna take Detroit because I think having this bye week actually hurt Minnesota more than not having it. They were on an incredible run. I think they were chomping at the bit, play every week, keep that momentum going. Potentially having this bye week puts them a little bit back on the ground, and this is the game that the Lions have to win. This is the most important game of their season because the Vikings, so far, they're leading the division. They've been perfect. If they lose this one, it'll be hard to catch up, and Minnesota keeps going with that. So Detroit has to get it done. Big hit for the Lions, Aiden Hutchinson with the bad injury. He's probably out for the season, though we don't know for sure. But he will definitely miss the rest of the regular season. Whether he can come back late in the playoffs, sort of case-by-case basis, but assume that he won't. Look for the Lions to make a move come trade deadline for an edge rusher. Max Crosby is in the discussion. Hassan Reddick is in the discussion. Because the Lions still look like a legitimate team. I am picking them somewhat surprisingly here over the Vikings. Eagles and Giants.
You know what? This is a tough one. I mean, the records doesn't reflect how close this game really is. The Eagles coming off of a win, the Giants coming off of a loss, but it actually is in New York, so there's that little bit of tick in the favor of the Giants. Now, the Giants are better than that record. They're sitting at 2-4. I believe this team should be at least 3-3, if not 4-2. The Bengals have a really good offense, and their defense held them to 17 points, so I gotta believe that defense is actually halfway decent. And we know the offense can get rolling at times. Not quite against the Bengals, but I do think this team has a lot of potential. Whereas the Eagles, kind of disappointing to where they should be. You got Sirianni out there fighting the fans on the sideline, which is absolutely ridiculous. I will say it again. I've said this several times over the years. The Eagles have some really horrible fans, man. I'm sorry if you're listening to this and you're an Eagles fan, but you know, the entire sports world knows that Philly fans are absolutely brutal, and they will take aim at their own team. It doesn't matter. I don't know, man. Not a big fan of the Eagles or their fans, but I'm going to say that they do get the win here, although I would like to see the Giants win this one because that is a team that I secretly root for, but it's not much of a secret anymore. I'll take the Eagles on the road.
Look, I'd love the Giants to win this one, right? They put up a fight, at least against the Bengals, so it was terrible to see. They won a game before then, and I think the Eagles are like this particular loss away from completely imploding, like imploding worse than they did last year. I'm talking about the head coach being fired. I'm talking about like Great Depression days in Philadelphia. There's a lot of people who want to see that. There's a lot of people who want, because this team has made some enemies over the past 2-3 years, and they've earned each and every one of those enemies. Giants, of course, is a divisional rival. I'll be rooting for the Giants. There's no secret, as will you. I can't pick them though. Track record tells me, hey, just Philly's just better in every category. Not having Jason Kelce hurts them a lot, but they're better. Like Jalen Hurts has been more reliable over the last year and a half. The defense has been much better than the Giants, so I'm taking Philly, but hoping for the upset here would be high entertainment coming into next week. The Raiders at the Rams.
Can we consider this a tank bowl at this point? I think the Rams are still...
yeah, let's do that. Let's consider that, yeah.
Yeah, I think so. But I think the Rams still have hope when they get their two superstar wide receivers back out on the field. They may make another run of it, but hearing that Stafford has some back issues, what it seems like he has every year and he plays through it, but there have been some seasons where he has to sit out, and I don't know if that's on the horizon for the Rams or not, but we know if Stafford's not out there, this team doesn't win games at all. They would have to get really lucky. There's not a Baker Mayfield that can come in and give them a 2-game bump or anything. So, but the Raiders are absolutely horrible. Now that their star wide receiver is gone to the Jets, there is only one high spot on that offense, and it happens to be rookie sensation Brock Bowers. But that's not going to be enough, especially with Aiden O'Connell out there. The Rams really need this if they think they're going to have any chance at getting back to a winning season at some point when their stars come back. I'll take the Rams at home.
Yeah, this one's legitimately very difficult for me to make a pick on. But I'm also going Rams. I'm just picking the team that looks like less dysfunctional, right? And had maybe a little bit more time to prepare for this game. So give me the Rams. The Raiders look in complete collapse. Devontae Adams is gone. I feel like it looks like Max Crosby is going to be gone because that guy has been the heart and soul of that defense for so long. And he's just getting nothing out of it. He's clearly fed up. We saw him on the sideline with Antonio Pierce. He's done. He's fed up with the team. He needs to go somewhere else for the sake of his own career. He deserves better. He deserves to be in the playoffs and play serious football. The Raiders are just not in the position to do that. Should have kept Jimmy Garoppolo. Maybe that would have helped. But no, Raiders are not looking good. I'll take the Rams. Speaking of Jimmy Garoppolo, he's on the Rams right now, which is also not a timeline I wanted to live in, but there you go. Panthers and the Washington Commies.
All right, well, after taking a tough loss like that, this is a get-right game for the Commanders, and we should see them put it all back together. Not that they were bad in that game at all. They really gave the Ravens a fight, which some people consider one of the best teams in the league. You should be proud of yourself. The Commanders are so much better than anyone thought they were going to be. The Panthers are so much worse than anyone thought they were going to be, even though they were absolutely horrible last year. With Andy Dalton out there, who is playing his heart out, but he has absolutely no one around him, so there's not much he can do other than try. He's not going to win, right? The Commanders have a really good offense at this time with Jaden Daniels at the helm. The Commanders will take this one at home.
Yes, I agree. Look, Panthers are great. Commanders are good. Big fan of Jaden Daniels. They played the Ravens down to the wire. It's a good team. They'll probably make the playoffs. Give me Washington. Chiefs at the Niners.
Yeah, second game of the week right here, right? Refs versus the 49ers. How is that going to work out for you?
Usually doesn't go great.
It's so easily to take off the CHI and just put an R there, and they're the refs instead of the Chiefs. And that's what it's going to be. I mean, that was the only thing. Like, if you look at these two teams on paper right now, I'm taking the 49ers. 9 times out of 10, they're going to pull it off, even with Patrick Mahomes, because Patrick Mahomes is at the Andy Dalton line at this point in time. Actually, worse than the Andy Dalton line. He's not even in the top 16, so he's worse than the Jordan Love line, or whatever we're going to call it right now. 49ers have every piece they need to win this game, and they're at home. It's tough to say they will, because we know that the NFL will make it as difficult as possible for the 49ers. It's another Super Bowl rematch again. These two teams have gone at it over the past few years. Shanahan versus Andy Reid. It's a matchup as old as time. You know what? I'm going to say the Chiefs finally take a loss. Their luck can't last forever. The NFL will make sure it does if they have any say in it. But I will take your 49ers at home.
Wow. Okay, you have more faith in them than I do at this point in time. Look, this is like a really good illustration of how units match up against each other, right? So you have the Niners offense versus the Chiefs defense. That's good on good. You got the Chiefs offense and the Niners defense. That's mediocre on mediocre. Chiefs special teams versus Niners special teams. That's pretty good on dumpster fire, and that's what the game might come down to at the end of the day. I have very little trust, and this will be a close game because these are always close games, except for the one game where Jimmy Garoppolo got hurt like a couple of years ago. This pairing has always been a close game, and always it comes down to some kind of special team mishap. And consistently, the Chiefs are just better prepared and better coached on that side of the ball, or that third sort of invisible side of the ball. That'll play a role. I have very much a strong feeling that this will play some kind of role in this game, but also. Just defensively, the Chiefs are phenomenal. And the Niners defense is not well set to defend the only thing that the Chiefs are kind of doing well right now, which is the deep ball with speed to like Xavier Worthy. That's sort of the one weakness the Niners have had. They've been burnt deep a lot this year. Also, you remember when the Niners were when one of the criticisms that was leveraged against Brock Purdy last year was that he's got so much yards after catch. Mm-hmm. He's just throwing it for 5 yards and the Niners are by far the last team in the league at yards after catch. It's not even close between them and number 31. Brock Purdy has double the amount of average air yards per attempt than Patrick Mahomes. That is unheard of. That is unbelievable. It's crazy. 10 air yards, 5 air yards for Patrick Mahomes. So that has completely flipped. Chiefs offense isn't great. Niners defense is not great. Look for a special teams play. In the Super Bowl, it was a muffed punt, a missed extra point, and this happened against the Vikings, right? You get a punt blocked against the Rams. A million things happen. If you watch Niners games as closely as I do, 80% of the time they've lost games over the last four years. Multiple special teams shenanigans have happened in that game, and that's just a persistent thing because they just keep underestimating that side of the game. And until that happens, 3-3 is a justified record as far as unfortunately as sad as I am to admit it, but that's what it's going to be like. Chiefs are going to win this one. Jets and Steelers.
I really did not expect you to pick that, but kind of glad you did.
Yeah, didn't want to, but I can't now.
I will gloat that I picked your team when you didn't, if the 49ers win this game.
I mean, yeah, sure. Fine. Now, maybe I'm cursing them or whatever.
I mean, all they have to do is outplay the refs, and, that's about it.
Yeah, that's right. That's pretty easy.
Where's Robbie Gould when you need him? The Jets versus Steelers. Looks like Russell Wilson's going to be out there under quarterback this time. Justin Fields has been winning a decent amount of games, but he got replaced because Coach Tomlin wants a passer out there. He's never been a big fan of the running quarterback, and we've seen that several times, that he wants a passing quarterback, and he is ready for Russell Wilson to come in. Really weird, though. I mean, a lot of people are reacting to this like, why, when you're winning games, why make the quarterback change? But they hired him to be the starter. Justin Fields did not come over there expecting to be the starter. Wilson's injury, he just wasn't ready, so it is what it is. Jets, on the other hand, like I said, they should have won that game, right? The 2-game bump. Should I say that they're going to pick it up in the second game? I would like to believe so. They have an extra offensive weapon now because it looks like Davante Adams is going to start this game. And Russell Wilson is going to hyper-target Davante. No doubt about it. But there's a lot of great receivers on the Steelers also. Well, actually, I'll say that. Freiermuth and Pickens are the great receivers on the Steelers. I can't say there's a ton after them, but we'll see. Wilson to Wilson, though, if they do get Roman Wilson going in this game, that'll be fun to hear. Wilson to Wilson. I'm going to say that the Steelers do it, and the 2-game bump just doesn't happen for the Jets at this point in time. It's kind of weird to say because it is Aaron Rodgers, but I'm going to say that Russell Wilson gets a win over Aaron Rodgers at home.
Okay, you know what? I'll dispute you on this one again. I'm saying the Jets get this one. I think Devontae Adams has, if he's playing, he's gonna have a 100-yard receiving game. This is what he's been. Look, he wanted to be on the Jets a year and a half ago, right? When Aaron Rodgers said he did not want to go to the Raiders, but he ended up on the Raiders. Finally fought his way out, filling one of the most needed positions for the Jets. Now their offensive line still has a lot of issues. A lot of this team still has a lot of issues. One wide receiver will not turn this team into like an AFC favorite, but it might get them over the line to make the playoffs with a like truly reliable target who already has chemistry with Aaron Rodgers. It will help more than we would expect for this team, and I think they're gonna ride the wave. I mean, the bump obviously is done, but new Devontae Adams trade, still new coaching. Aaron Rodgers is the veteran we know. He got it done nearly against Buffalo. Buffalo Bills are better than the Steelers. So I'll take the Jets and get it done. The difference in quarterback at this point is too big, right? When you have Rodgers versus Allen, it's kind of a toss-up. We have two greats. Rodgers versus Justin Fields, Rodgers versus Russell Wilson, whatever you at this point in his career, whichever one you want to pick. It's just too big to really be ignored. So I will take the Jets. Ravens and Buccaneers.
Man, this should be a good offensive shootout also, because the Bucs offense is absolutely rolling, and it doesn't matter which running back they put out there, the running back is going to get a ton of yards. I really like Bucky Irvin. That's one of my favorite rookie running backs, and he may be one of my favorite young running backs in the league by the end of this season. I think he's really good, but an old face from the past actually pops up, who was third on the depth chart and led the entire league in running back yards last week, which was amazing to see because they did it over the Saints. Too bad it is the Bucs that pulled it off, but Baker Mayfield is playing out of his mind. That hero ball is absolutely working for him this season. This will be the season of his career if he can keep this up. The Ravens, on the other hand, they just have too much firepower, right? I mean, Lamar can run it. He can pass it. He is a very good passer to be a running quarterback. There's no doubt about that. They have offensive weapons. They have two great tight ends that could be top 10 in the entire league. They have receivers. They have Derrick Henry, who is probably going to be, the only running back to ever go over 1,000 yards and past the age of 30. Whatever the stat was, it was a crazy stat that Derrick Henry is on route to break this season. I'll be taking the ranks. I'll be taking the Ravens on the road.
Yeah, this one's actually also a tough one, and to me, this is potentially game of the week. This is not as easy to me as you made it sound. I can see why you'd pick the Ravens. Like, you just kind of trust the names more, like just top to bottom, offense and defense. But for me, this is legitimately a really tough one, considering that the Bucs play at home. Now, I will kind of fall for the same thing that you did. I'll say, okay, look, this run game just seems unstoppable, right? For Baltimore, we'll take the Ravens also. But don't be surprised if Bucs stick in this one. I think they've shown the potential to really put up some. This offense for Tampa Bay is legit. I mean, Baker's dealing. You got Mike Evans, Hall of Famer. Chris Godwin's great. This offense is good. They got a great rookie running back. Tampa Bay is looking good. Still taking Baltimore, but I will not be surprised at all if this goes the other way. And finally, I don't know if this is primetime worthy, but it's there. Chargers at the Cardinals.
Why is this an island game? This makes absolutely no sense. Like, I get it. I like the Chargers. I like Herbert. I like a lot of the pieces on there. I like Lad McConkey, but I don't understand this at all. The Cards are absolutely horrible. The Chargers are decent. They're coming off of a win, but it seems like half of that team is injured at this point in time. Even the coach was in the medical tent for this game. I don't know. I didn't even look back at the news to see what exactly happened to Jim Harbaugh. But he was in the medical tent at this game. I watched a good bit of the game, but didn't really check up on the news on him afterwards. I'm assuming he's okay because I haven't heard anything else afterwards. So He should be out there. They definitely need a head coach if they're going to win this game, But it is the Cards, so maybe not. You could let Herbert coach the team and probably beat the Cards. Lad McConkey did not have to face Patrick Surtain because he went out at the very beginning of the game, so they were glad to see that. But then McConkey was also in the medical tent before long, so like I said, they're hurt all over. But still, I think Herbert is the deciding factor here because Kyler Murray is playing absolutely bad. This entire team is playing bad. So I will take the Chargers on the road.
I will also take the Chargers on the road. Thank you very much. I don't know what Jim Harbaugh had. I've never heard them talk about a coach like a player, like he's questionable to return. Like, what does that even mean? That's really funny. They said some kind of illness, and then I heard something about like him, like coaching with a heart rate monitor for a while. So maybe he's been like he's just been getting a little bit too wound up, which he is known to do. Mm-hmm. Maybe he's kind of exploding there, and something happens every once in a while. But the Chargers are looking all right. The Cardinals, not so much. And also, I have a ton of bias here, so I will take the Chargers. I'll jump on that train, even though you can make a convincing argument the Cardinals should win. I think it's going to be a close one, and I'm just picking this with the best of my hope. So I pick with my heart. So give me the Chargers in this one. 2 teams on bye. Bills and the Bears and the Cowboys. And boy, do the Cowboys need it.
Mm-hmm. Oh, man, they look horrible right now. I never really believed in it, though. I know they had a decent run in the second half of last season. A lot of people think they're just going to return to that, and once they come back after the bye, they're going to be on a tear like they did last season. But CeeDee Lamb is not who he was last season, that is for sure. And Dak Prescott, I'm sorry, Cowboys fans. I know there's a ton of them out there, and they're going to be really mad about that. Dak Prescott is not an elite quarterback. He never has been. He has gotten lucky to have pieces around him his entire career that made him look like he was a good quarterback. And I will say he probably is a decent quarterback. He is not elite, but that team looks absolutely horrible playing the Lions last week when they got stomped out. So I'm sure they're ready for that bye, and they think they're going to come back off the bye and do a lot like they did last year, and we'll see if that happens. But yeah, they're bad right now.
Yeah, I would love for the Cowboys to legitimately have like a losing season, like not even make the playoffs to begin with. That'd be phenomenal. They're always kind of in the mix. They're always good enough to to start like gloating and having like unrealistic expectations about going to the Super Bowl and so forth. I'd love to see them like kind of cut down a little bit, kind of mellow them down a little bit. That they're also like a mortal team, This might be the season, and then we'll see a lot of new things happen. Dak Prescott just got paid a ton of money. You're not gonna get rid of him, but maybe Mike McCarthy's on the chopping block. So we'll see what's gonna come of the Cowboys.
Have they had a losing season since that last year of Tony Romo? I don't think they have they?
I don't remember. Yeah. I mean, was it that season where every team in the NFC West and the NFC East had a losing season somehow?
Yes. Yeah, there was. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Yep, but overall, they've had a pretty decent run with Dak Prescott, but of course, he's not elite. I know a lot of people want to believe that, but he's not. And he always blows it at the clutch moments anyway.
Plus the Cowboys also just traded away no, they didn't. They did not trade. No, they didn't. Never mind. I got something mixed up. That was the Browns. Okay, that's also another crappy
Cooper.
team trading away their top receiver. Yeah, to Buffalo, by the way, which is a big deal. Cowboys did trade him away back then to the Browns, but at this point they might as well trade CeeDee Lamb away. But,
I forgot.
They will not admit that they're not a contender.
Yeah, exactly. I forgot about that trade when we were talking about the Bills, but I don't think he's ready to play this week, is he? It's probably not a Devontae Adams situation where, because it's Aaron Rodgers, you can go in and play the first week. I don't think Amari Cooper's just going to jump right in this first game, but...
I don't know. It might be difficult.
Yeah.
Not that Bills don't need him this week. There's no need to rush him back. Jets do need Devontae Adams.
Yeah. Even though they have a decent receiving core. They have a ton of middling guys and one elite, or should be elite. I mean, he's played really well this season. He was drafted to be elite. Came from Ohio State, so he should be elite, but I don't know. I mean, I guess that receiving core is just going to have tons of names all over it at this point.
Let's see how that goes. I'm curious to see the Cowboys when they come back next week. Let me check who they're playing next week. Just a little foreshadow for what's in store next week when we're recording this one. Oh my God. At San Francisco. Wow.
Of course. Of course it
could
is.
not have been any better.
The NFL loves that matchup right there. The Cowboys.
And it's in prime time for sure. The Niners are notorious for getting coaches fired, by the way.
Oh yeah.
Like yeah. It happens a lot for some reason. Because especially under Shanahan, like they've been like, though they haven't been like the best team in the league in general, they have been one of the best, but not that consistently. But one thing they've done consistently is like humiliate teams that like coming into the game seemed like they were about on the same level, like they did last year with the Eagles. Sometimes they just like, it just turns they blow out like an evenly matched team on paper and get coaches fired. That has happened disproportionately often. So maybe the stars are aligning. Next week is looking to be pretty good.
Are you calling a coach firing at this point after that game?
I don't know if Jerry will do it during the season, but I think he'll do it. He'll do it either during or after the season. I think this is Mike McCarthy's last season with the Cowboys.
Yeah, I wouldn't doubt it because
I think he's going all in.
Yeah, there has been a lot of talk about McCarthy getting fired for sure. But I don't recall a time where Jerry Jones fired someone during the season.
No, I don't either. Mm-hmm. But I feel like I think Jerry's just gonna go all in on Bill Belichick next year. He's just gonna try.
Oh wow.
He needs to put like a new direction.
What if it's Nick Saban? He just brings.
That was my second thought. Can you get him out of retirement?
Yeah.
I mean, enough money will do a lot of things for basically anyone, right?
Yeah.
And that's what Jerry does.
Yeah. I would like to see that. Like, I mean, I know he's up there in age, but so is Belichick. But could that be something he's wishing to do? Is like, I need to fix that one low spot in my entire career when I went to the Dolphins. You know, I need to get back in the NFL and prove that I can put together a winning season in the NFL.
Man, let's see how it goes.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see.
Should be interesting for sure. It'll be a good week. So I'll remind everybody once again that you can go vote for your current MVP favorite on the channel community page. I'm curious to see the outcome of that. We'll recap it next week. Smokey, do you have anything to add for this week?
No, I think that's it for this week.
All right, then. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Leave us a like on the video, and we'll see you in the next one.
Deuces.
We've been winning from the door. You should check the scoreboard, huh? Check.